Finally, some little tips on writing technique and things you can do to improve your writing generally across the board. Think about economy with words, and that means not only use less words, but use more meaningful words. And that doesn't mean more complicated words, it's just words that carry more weight of meaning for the particular instance that they're being used. And a good exercise in this is for your story, if you write a small description of a room in which is in your story in some manner, or it doesn't have to be a room, any sort of scene, a brief description of a scene in your story, and then see if you can reduce that description from one paragraph to one sentence, and if you can take it from one sentence down to the bare bones, maybe 5 words that just encapsulate what that scene is, and what's going on in it. And as a reference for this, think more Hemingway style writing rather than Tolkien style writing. So, Tolkien has really long, meandering sentences, which can be quite hard to read. And Hemingway famously short, snappy, every little word is a brushstroke and means something, nothing is superfluous in any sentence. And by doing this, you can land your meaning quickly and gently in the reader's mind. You don't need to make them grapple for meaning. As they try and navigate what all this means, it just flows into them as they read your work. However, if you do need to use a long sentence as opposed to a short, snappy one, perhaps if you're doing a list of items or any reason you might inescapably have to use a fairly long sentence, if you then punctuate that with a short sentence afterwards of just a few words, you get a really powerful, punchy sentence that will follow the longer one. This can make for a quite impactful experience for the reader. Show, don't tell. Even though when we talked about dialogue, we said show, don't tell, but wherever you're writing, if you can just show someone what's happening rather than explaining to them what's going on, it will be much better writing for that. And finally, plot devices can be very useful. Again, like we used an anchor point by talking about the theme of work, having a plot device can be something of a heartbeat throughout a narrative. And particularly in games writing, if you're putting puzzles or anything like that in your game, you could use a plot device as a puzzle that they find. Now, a plot device, for example, in Harry Potter, we see the Vanishing Cabinet, and occasionally throughout this film, this Vanishing Cabinet is referred to, or is seen, or appears somewhere, and that then becomes a heartbeat through the film. In one of the stories I wrote a few years ago, we used an orange as a story in a graphic novel called The Castle in England. One of the stories, the character's very into health, and this is set in Victorian England. And throughout the story, you see oranges in the background of the comic. So maybe they are on a table or they're referred to. Make sure you get your oranges eaten, and this is a plot device that is used throughout the story.